Recently, a woman by the name of Jennifer Fulwiler came to my attention. Now, Jennifer Fulwiler is a 35-year-old mother who says she was raised as an atheist but has now converted to Catholicism. She has written a book that was released in April titled Some Details Her Conversion Process. I haven't read the book, but I am familiar with some of her story and claims. She has also appeared in a reality TV series on a Catholic television station chronicling her life as she juggles her family and writing her book. And she writes a blog titled Conversion Diary. Now, the basic gist of her story is that she was raised by her atheist father and religiously apathetic mother, and her father taught her to seek truth and question assumptions. She claims that she heard her college professors say belief in God started because people didn't know how to explain things before science. And she can't believe that this was allowed to be taught in public universities because ancient Greek philosophers had a different opinion. I'm sorry, but that statement is pretty much factually correct. That's pretty much basically the reason that humans invented gods, to explain things that they didn't understand. There may have been some other reasons as well, but that's a very crucial and true statement. Now, she also claims that evolution can be taken from an atheist or materialist perspective and used to justify social Darwinism, which is basically survival of the fittest as applied to humans in society. The most ironic part about this is that most frequently we see conservative Christians espousing social Darwinism with their stances on things like welfare and immigration and the free market and not wanting minimum wage and the like. And she also claims that although she frequently engages in debates online with atheists, she's yet to get a satisfactory answer on how to deduce a moral code without God. She also gushes about her husband's upbringing as a poor child of a single mother and how he was able to achieve success at prestigious universities and become a lawyer. And she says she assumed that when they met that he was an atheist because obviously all smart people are atheists. She acts as if she were taken aback when he told her that he believed in God and was especially shocked when he said that he was a Christian. But not a Catholic, of course, just a lukewarm, non-church-going Christian who had an experience and knows Jesus is real. She claims that this was the first time she ever considered that intelligent people could believe in God, and that this must mean something. She says that while an atheist, she would accidentally run into religious people and accidentally engage them in debate, and that in answering questions about why humans are more valuable than other animals, she'd just quote other atheists about how humans are more complex and cognitively advanced, and that complexity is where you derive value from. While this had set the stage in her words, she claims that seeing her first child after giving birth was the real beginning in her conversion, and she calls her baby a miracle. She claims that she started to think atheism was nonsense because it reduces her child down to nothing more than a bag full of chemical reactions. She says that she knew that the love she felt for her son had a source outside of her, and that it wasn't just chemical reactions in her brain producing this feeling. So in response to this, she sent out a prayer to whatever the source of this love was. And she says she was 100% convinced that atheism was false. That's an interesting claim. She claims that when she was in the 4th grade, she put all of the Bibles in the bookstore in the fiction section. How cute. She claims that when she went to the bookstore as an adult during her journey here, she was drawn to a specific book that had a light on it, whatever the hell that means. The book was The Case for Christ by Lee Strobel, who incidentally is another atheist convert. While she agreed that it helped her towards her faith, she claims that Strobel didn't have the fullness of truth. Well, you know why? Because he's a Protestant and not a Catholic. She claims that once she started regaining interest in God and religion, that she researched into every major religion except Christianity. How convenient. Although, when she gave a speech last year, she claimed that the first religion she went to was Christianity. So I'm not sure which one it is. Considering that her husband was already a Christian, I'm going to go with she probably didn't even bother with other religions and went right to Christianity. She claims that before she bought her Bible and started reading it, she was wholly ignorant of Scripture and didn't even understand the difference between the Old Testament and the New Testament. She also says that her impression of Christianity at this time was based upon a few childhood trips to Sunday school with friends, and she thought that the Israelites were fishermen and that they had sheep, and that's pretty much all she knew. She began reading the Old Testament and indeed was taken aback by the absurd rituals and laws described therein. But then her husband basically told her to ignore it and just get to the New Testament because that's where Jesus is. She fully admits that as she read the Bible, she wasn't seeing where the Christian moral code comes from, especially on issues like abortion or euthanasia. She also got conflicting interpretations from other Christians on various things, such as if Jesus was speaking specifically to people of his time or to believers today. Her husband told her to get a Bible encyclopedia for the proper context and interpretations after she expressed concern that she doesn't have time to study Scripture to get a full understanding of it. She also notes that widespread literacy is a fairly new phenomenon and that many people, even today, still can't read the Bible. Now, this was around the time also that she began her blog. She claims that she knew just where to find the most vile and hateful atheist blogger at the time. And she went right to his site to recruit Christians to her blog so that they could answer her questions. She claimed that she chose 6 people who destroyed the atheists' arguments, and 5 of the 6 were, surprise, Catholics. As if people belonging to the world's largest religious sect was miraculous or something. She also claimed she had nowhere else to turn because she had exhausted all of her other options. She claims that she found the Catholic doctrine and moral code to be perfect and consistent and intuitive, including the stance against abortion and contraception, which changed her and her husband from their pro-choice stance. She claims that since other churches changed their stance, but the Catholic Church didn't, they are right. Conveniently, she also is critical of those who say it is okay for Catholics to not adhere strictly to their dogma. Because recently there's been a lot of Catholics who disagree with certain stances of the church, and they'll just pretty much ignore them but continue to call themselves Catholic. Also, she conveniently claims that Catholicism is more reasonable than atheism, and is the only philosophy she's ever encountered that is more reasonable than atheism. Although I somehow doubt that she thinks that atheism is more reasonable than other sects of Christianity. Again, conveniently, this was all occurring at the time of the abuse scandals within the church, while they were at the forefront and in the news. But of course, that didn't deter Jennifer from keeping her belief that the church was established and ordained by God. She even claimed that the continuous thrashing of the church by the media over the scandals was just proof that the world was actually evil and corrupt, and we're just biased in trying to pin that corruption and evil on the church to maintain power. She also argues that the church can't be evil and corrupt because it is the longest running and largest continuous operation in human history. Apparently, this is a history that she is wildly ignorant of, which would explain why this is. Lastly, she claims that the church doctrine is to help you live a life in love, not to constrain you, and she claims that Catholicism finally gave her a sense of purpose and understanding she never had before. Oh, and that vile atheist blogger, the raving atheist? Yeah, also now a Catholic. Shocker. So, in conclusion, I'm not doubting that Jennifer Fulwiler was an atheist in the past. I'm just saying that if the Catholic Church created a puppet to do an atheist to Catholic conversion feel-good story as PR for the church, it would look exactly like Jennifer Fulwiler. From the endless cliches and stereotypes she fulfills about atheists, from a theist perspective, to her incredulous stories about how she came to learn about Catholicism, to her unwavering defense of the church, her story is simply not believable. In addition to this, previous claims that she had made about Scripture being too complicated and she was too busy as a mom to have time to understand it fully fall flat because she later admits that she's read tons of books in researching her religious perspective and in order to write her own book and blog and the like. So she has spent plenty of time looking into these things. In addition, I find it extraordinarily hard to believe that somebody who was raised to seek truth and use reason would end up believing in a religion that literally believes that a priest can cast a spell over a cracker and turn it into the literal flesh of a human blood sacrifice. And then once this occurs, you then eat it. And that's why I'm calling bullshit on Jennifer Fulwiler. I am Prototype Atheist. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share with anyone else you think would be interested, and subscribe to my channel for future updates. You can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/prototypeatheist and on Twitter at protoatheist.